Hey everyone, Megan Reyes here. I'm a soccer host and creator, and thank you for joining me back on this series. In this interview, we speak with Atlanta United's Tyler Wolff. Tyler comes from a strong soccer family, and we hear about his connection to the beautiful game and his Filipino side. As a Filipino American, what does being Filipino mean to you, and how do you stay connected with the culture?
Yeah, for me, it's a great honor. I think it's very important to know where you come from. So hearing stories of my grandmother and her mother back in the Philippines, it's interesting to hear. It's interesting to hear the different cultures, how it's different from here in the U.S. And no, it's cool to hear.
So do you know much about on your mom's side, correct? You're Filipino. Do you know much about your lineage and where in the Philippines your family's from?
I know, so I'm pretty close with my grandmother. I'm not sure exact date, but she grew up in Manila, in the suburbs of Manila, and she came over here with a few of her friends as nurses to get into nursing school, and it was a one-way ticket. They they got off the plane and they came here to Atlanta, and they started their lives.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Have you been to the Philippines?
I have not. I've heard great things. I heard it's beautiful. My mom's been. It's a crazy schedule for me, so I'm sure I'll get over there one day. I'm looking forward to it.
With knowing that you were close to do you call her your Lola?
So I call my great grandmother Lola.
Okay.
That's what we used to call her. We
Okay.
call grandma grandma.
Grandma. Okay. So with your
Okay.
grandma and with your mom and being getting to have grown up around them, how much was Filipino culture prevalent in your childhood? The other customs or food or language, perhaps? How much was that part of your upbringing?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that stands out to me is how family oriented they are. Being with your family, making sure you get to see them. It's been a big piece of who we are. I know my mom has told me and my siblings, she just hopes that we continue to be close and stay close, and just really take time out of your busy schedule to see each other. So that's definitely one thing that I've taken away from that.
I feel like family oriented is probably the biggest thing in the
Yeah,
culture.
for sure.
I'm actually going to the Philippines on Sunday. I'll be there
Okay.
for 3 weeks, and my mom wants me to try and meet her cousins and her second cousins and all these distant relatives, and it's
Yeah.
if you have time, but we hope you make time. I feel like that's such a common theme of oh, do you remember your cousin so and so?
Oh yeah,
No, but
for sure. We actually, I think it was Lola's 95th birthday, and we surprised her. We all went to California, and I know there's a lot of cousins over there that we met. But yeah.
so you grew up in in Georgia, right? And was it a big town?
My dad played soccer as well, so we kind of have been all over the place. We were in Washington D.C. and Kansas. We were in Columbus, Ohio, Germany for a little bit. So we've been everywhere.
Okay, I was gonna ask because, for myself, I grew up in Idaho. I grew up in a very small, predominantly white town, so there weren't a lot of Filipinos, and all the places you got to live as a childhood, and everybody's experiences are different. But curious, for the most part, I feel like Filipinos tend to find each other. Did you and on your mom's side have that every time you guys moved, or was it mainly your immediate family that you guys really built a community with every time you were going to these different places?
Yeah, I'd say out of all the cities we've been to, I'd say in DC was pretty diverse, and we have friends that we've known that are Filipino, and whenever you kind of are around them or whenever you see them, it's kind of a gratification thing. It's nice to kind of see people who are similar to you, cultural wise. So yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Do you have a favorite dish, a Filipino dish?
I know my grandmother's made adobo. There's one more. Apritada, I think she makes as well.
Maybe my mom made this for me. It's actually funny. I was speaking to someone yesterday, and they were like, if you told me the names of the dishes, I probably don't know it, but if you showed it to me, I'd be like, oh yeah, I've
Yeah,
had that before.
yeah, exactly.
I obviously know a little bit about your background, but just for the viewers and everyone that listens to this when it comes out, like, um, if you could share with us just a little bit about how you got into soccer, your interest in the sport, really, because as we know, especially with Filipinos, like soccer isn't the prevalent sport that most people end up playing. And so I've always loved to hear about how people found their way into soccer.
Yeah, so for me, like I said, I grew up in a very soccer driven house. My dad played. He played for the U.S. He played in Kansas, in D.C., and then obviously Germany. So growing up with a ball at my feet, it was hard to really ever get into anything else.
Right.
And then as my brother, I have two other brothers. So when they were born, we were just always in the backyard playing soccer, and from city to city, that's just something that we've had along with us, and something we've always had to kind of fall back on. Tough times moving as young kids, it's tough. So we
Yeah.
always had soccer to express ourselves and have fun. So yeah, the competitiveness definitely started in the house, and it just continued to grow.
I think that's what's so beautiful about the sport. Were there any other ones that you played while you were like growing up? Did you play any other sports, or was it primarily like full
I
force
tried
soccer?
baseball. I tried baseball and basketball for a little bit. Definitely better at soccer. We roll with that one.
I will just say, and I know everyone jokes about this whenever it's like MLB free agency. The money in baseball is wild. I
It is.
feel like
It's crazy. It's
it's the
crazy.
one sport people are like, I would probably play that just because they get paid a crazy amount of money.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, a question for you, and if you're comfortable asking, I'm going to kind of just throw it out there. I know you've had time with the youth national team, and I wanted to ask if you have ever considered possibly representing the Philippines.
Yeah, so they have reached out recently within the past 6 months.
Oh,
Obviously, we have a deep connection with the national team and my dad in the years past, but we've thought about it. It's definitely something on the table. I think right now we're kind of seeing where my career path goes, but down the road, you never know. I think it could be a great opportunity, also to travel, see different
yeah.
cities, and yeah.
It would be very ceremonious if it were to work out in a way to visit the Philippines for the first time through soccer. I think
Hmm.
that would be really special, and I feel like that both on the women's national team and the men's national team of people I've talked to, especially for Philams like ourselves that were born here, I just love hearing the stories of when people get to go there for the first time because of a call up or a training camp.
Hmm.
And although while I definitely don't play or nowhere on any of your levels, like this weekend, for example, the reason I'm going for the next month is to create a documentary about the soccer landscape in the Philippines. And so I know for myself, it just is so cool that for my first time back, I get to go through the sport. And I think that would just be so incredible if it worked out that way for you.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. It'd be super cool.
I know I had to ask, and I feel like because I've done this before, and then whenever this comes out, everyone's going to be like, Tyler says he's interested. Like, men's national team, do what you need to do to try and make it happen. But had to ask. So really, like, I just have a couple last like rapid fire questions, something a little fun to close out. Like I said, this was going to be pretty low lift and hopefully easy, but just like four rapid fire questions to get to know you a little
Cool.
bit.
Let's do it.
Who is on your Mount Rushmore of soccer players, man or woman?
Okay, first one for sure, Messi. I really loved watching that Barcelona team with Suarez and Neymar, so I'll put them up there as well.
Okay.
We'll keep it with Barca. We'll go Iniesta. I think that team was incredible to watch. A lot of fun to watch. And growing up, coming home from school, I was always watching them. So,
Would
yeah,
you?
we'll go with those four.
Okay. Would you consider yourself a Barca fan?
Yeah, I think so. I just like the way they play. Also, Man City. I just like Pep and the way he presents the game.
Solid Mount Rushmore. Don't ask me back. Someone asked me yesterday. They were like, "What's yours?" I'm like, "Oh, don't." I asked the questions. It was hard. Once I was put on the spot, I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh wow, that's actually a really tough question." Okay, if you had to pick pancit or adobo,
What was that?
if you had to pick one, would you pick pancit or chicken adobo?
Chicken adobo.
It's a comfort food.
Yeah, it is.
It's a
It
comfort
is.
food. It's so easy to make, and every once in a while I make it because it's just like I don't know. I feel like you're a kid again. Do you have a favorite Asian athlete? It can be any sport.
Hmm. Let's see. The baseball player. He actually played here against the Braves. I went to the game and saw him play in person. Otani. Yeah,
It's a good answer.
for sure.
That's a
No,
good answer.
he's yeah,
Like I
fun to
said,
watch.
just the baseball. Baseball was a route, man. Maybe that's where
Yeah.
you should have gone. And then speaking of last question, if you didn't play soccer, what sport would you want to play professionally?
In my free time, I'm a golfer, so I'll go with that. I think the traveling from city to city, I think is pretty cool. So I'll go with that.
You're a golfer. Tell me more. When did you pick it up?
I was young when I started. There's a little bit of golf history in my background. This is my dad's side. So my dad's grandmother, she was Jack Nicklaus's accountant, and Jack Nicklaus is one of the greatest golfers in the history, if not the greatest, up there with Tiger. So whenever the Masters was, rolling around, he would invite our family out to go to that, and he was always getting the family golf bags and whatever they needed. So kind of started with that, and my dad taught me a little bit. So yeah,
So casual. Like
yeah,
just casually my great great grandma was his accountant. So how often so when you have free time, is that what you enjoy doing?
yeah. Me and my brothers, we get competitive. Yeah,
That's funny that you say that. And that's a good answer. I mean, there's no wrong answer. It's a good answer. I spoke with Michael Baldisimo. He told me the same thing. He would golf. And then someone actually asked me for a separate project. If I was an athlete, what would I want to play other than soccer? And I said golf.
it's relaxing. It's nice to be outside and get your mind off things. And it's a mental game, so
I was
I
just
think it
going to
helps
say
you
that.
mentally.
It's just like you are your only competition, really.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. That was all I had for you. Hopefully, this was easy and it didn't take up too much of your time, but I appreciate it.